We are rolling on with the New York Sports Rapid Rundown in the month of September as we're in week 2 of the NFL season, and Hispanic Heritage Month kicks off this week as well. And with that being said, there's a great legacy of Hispanic reporters who have done amazing work in this city covering New York sports. And on this episode, I have the pleasure of having a journalist in studio. He is a reporter for Latino Sports and the creator of Uptown Sports, representing the boogie down Bronx to the fullest. It's my guy, Hector Beauchamp. Hector, what's going on, my friend?
Dexter, how you doing, my guy? So happy to be here, man.
I'm doing good.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm glad, because I've had you on. You've been in the studio before.
Yes.
You've been on with me a bunch talking the Yankees. And then I realized, we have not had Hector on the Rapid Rundown. I don't know why I thought we did, but we had to make sure we did not, so now you're
Listen,
here.
it's sooner rather than later, but I'm glad to be here. But I'm glad to be here. Again, shout out to you for always giving opportunities for independent journalists like myself to be in studio with you.
Listen, it's a blessing. I like when people do good work, and it's great to give people opportunities that deserve them. So thank you, my friend. And Hector, we've got plenty to discuss this week. We do every week. We've got concerns about the Jets and Giants after both teams lost in week 1. Also, what your Yankees starting pitching rotation could look like in the playoffs. But first, we're going to talk about the New York Mets.
Yes.
They knocked off the Phillies 11-3 on Friday night, but there was some bad news for the Mets fans. We saw MVP candidate Francisco Lindor removed from the game before the bottom of the 7th. Now, the Mets said Lindor was dealing with lower back soreness. So, let's get to it, right? Let's get right to this. How concerning is this for this Mets team if Lindor is to miss any time with 15 games left to go in the season? Now, he is available, as we're recording this on Saturday, to play, but off the bench, not in the starting lineup, so we don't know how this will move going forward. But if he is to miss any time, Hector, how concerning is this for the Mets fan?
It is alarming and concerning if you're a Met fan, but there is good news. He is available to pinch hit for tonight. When you look at Francisco Lindor, he has been everything for the New York Mets this season. I know he started slow the first month and a half to 2 months of the season. A lot of Met fans, there was a lot of chirping on Mets Twitter and stuff, but when you look at the production that you're getting out of Francisco Lindor, to me, I've had this conversation with a bunch of people. Even though I cover the Yankees, Francisco Lindor is the MVP for the National League, right? Not only is he the MVP for the Mets, but for the National League. When you look at Ohtani, not to take anything away from Ohtani, Ohtani is box office. But when you look at MVP and what that stands for, most valuable player, that's what Francisco Lindor is. He has more value to the New York Mets than Shohei Ohtani does with the Dodgers. If you remove Ohtani from the Dodgers, they have 2 guys that are former MVP in Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. If you remove Francisco Lindor away from the Mets, you got Pete Alonso, who's having a down year this season, and the Mets would probably be battling with the Chicago White Sox when it comes to the worst record in all of Major League Baseball. That's why, for me, Francisco Lindor is the clear standout for MVP in the National League.
I mean, listen, I usually agree with that, and I do agree with you with this. I'm not saying usually like I don't agree with you, because I do agree with you. I think enough times when we look at MVP, and this goes across all major sports, right, there's sort of a focus on who is the best, most impressive stats in that season, which is why I think we need to separate and have a different award for most valuable player and most outstanding player. Those 2 things are different. I like that you're putting a lot of value in value. Go ahead.
What Ohtani is doing is special. He's on the verge of having 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, right? So that is special. And Ohtani, like I said, is box office. He's going to bring in fans to the stadium. He's going to bring in that extra ad revenue for Major League Baseball when you look at the Japanese market. But when you're talking about winning games and the value that the player has for their team, offensively, defensively, on the base pass, Francisco Lindor, he checks off every box. And then on top of it, he's a clear leader in that clubhouse and in that dugout. And I know, like I said, there was a lot of Met fans at the beginning of the season chirping, but right now they feel I think it's a 180 switch when it comes to the Mets and Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to the next point I wanted to talk to you about, because when you look at it, Hector, right, you look at the season that Lindor has had for the Mets, especially after the way he started off so slowly. In your eyes, what does this shortstop mean to this team? And do you think he's been appreciated enough in New York since the Mets traded for him?
I think this is this season, right, especially right now in September, this is the most that I think Met fans appreciate Francisco Lindor. Like I said, at the beginning of the season, Met fans were on Twitter, and I keep receipts, I know who you are. Met fans were on Twitter chirping about how they wanted to trade Francisco Lindor, trade Pete Alonso, and let's just scrap this from the beginning and let's just do a full rebuild. David Stern and Steve Cohen, they've laid out a game plan for their fan base. You see the moves that Stern made in the offseason, bringing in Luis Severino, bringing in Manaya. These are all pieces that have all hit for the New York Mets. J.D. Martinez has been a solid contributor as an offensive mainstay in that lineup, giving Pete Alonso protection. Pete Alonso, since he's been with the New York Mets, he's really never had protection behind them. So to have Francisco Lindor having this year, yes, Pete Alonso is having a down season, but he still provides you that home run when you need it. I think this season, Francisco Lindor has been the most loved by Met fans than ever before.
And no, you're right about that and keeping the receipts, because I definitely remember some Mets fans who were saying, oh, he's off to another slow start. Let's get him out of here. Mm-hmm. It also shows, and I think you can look at this, we'll get to the Yankees in a second, is why you have to look at the whole season, let it unfold. Mm-hmm. Baseball is such a long season. You can't just trip over the first month of the season. Yeah. We saw that with Aaron Judge as well, too, here in this town. So Francisco Lindor, I agree, getting more love than maybe he used to get. But I think Mets fans undoubtedly have to really appreciate what their shortstop has done this season and the leader he's shown to be, and also that the future is bright for the New York Mets.
If you're a Met fan, you should be excited for your future, especially after everything that happened last season. Is trading away Verlander, trading away Scherzer. Met fans didn't know what this team was going to look like. In the offseason, I know the Yankees traded for Juan Soto, and Met fans wanted the Mets to trade for Juan Soto. I know that name is going to come up this offseason, but I'm going to let you know right now, as a Yankee fan, I'm nervous because the New York Mets, they did something that the New York Knicks finally did. They laid down a foundation, and they showed that we're building something here for the long run. They're not just trying to hit a home run by signing a free agent. They're trying to lay the groundwork and the foundation to attract whatever free agent to Queens.
All right, it's going to be interesting around the Mets, and hopefully Francisco Lindor is able to help them down the stretch of this season over the last 15-plus games. Okay, now we go over to your Yankees. This should make you exciting, which at the time of this recording, they have a 3-game lead over the Baltimore Orioles. Now, the club's rotation had a odd man out recently. Nestor Cortez start last week, was skipped. Now Marcus Stroman, his start, at least temporarily, he falls out of the starting group this turn. Stroh, it's kind of been the weakest link for the Yanks lately, right? But he's going to be available out the bullpen on Sunday. So right now, assuming your Bronx Bombers make the postseason, who do you want to see in the Yankee starting rotation in the playoffs? What should that starting rotation look like in the postseason?
Well, let me speak on Stroman first before I talk about the entire rotation. Marcus Stroman, shout out to Marcus Stroman for having a phenomenal season with the New York Yankees. His first year with the Yankees, also nominee for Roberto Clemente Award with the New York Yankees. Got to give him credit for that. Being a Boricua as well. But when it comes to Marcus Stroman, his season, not a roller coaster, but it has his high moments and it has his down moments. Before the month of June, his ERA was below 3. He looked like what he was last year with the Chicago Cubs before he got injured and started to tail off towards the end of the season. Since the month of June, Marcus Stroman's ERA has been over 5.5, right? So he's total 180 than what he was at the beginning of the season. I'm not sure if it's fatigue, maybe it's age catching up to Marcus Stroman, but I think putting him in the bullpen and having him come out maybe gives him a little bit of extra rest. You could use him for 2 innings. Maybe he has an extra tick on his fastball if he's coming out knowing that he's just going to be there for 2 or 3 innings. But when you look at the postseason and the potential that the Yankees could have with their rotation, obviously Garrett Cole will be the number 1 starter. Carlos Rodon will be the number 2 starter. It's going to come down what the Yankees are going to do with that 3 spot. And I want to get a little creative with that 3 spot. I would start Luis Hill as the 3rd starter. Let him go 5 innings, and you did what the Yankees did the other day, the last time Luis Hill was out there. Have Nestor Cortez come in and finish off the game. So if you maximize your bullpen with Cole in game 1 and Rodon in game 2, you could use Luis Hill and Nestor Cortez to piggyback off each other, give your bullpen a day's rest. So when you come back for game 4, whether it's an elimination game, whether Garrett Cole has to go on short rest, you could use Luis Hill and Nestor Cortez to give your bullpen a day off, because the Yankees bullpen has been their biggest question mark this season.
Right, and they could use a lot of help there. That's been the biggest question mark there, no doubt. So, okay, you've got your rotation the way that you want it. I think that's really good. Now, as I mentioned before, Yankees, 3-game lead in the division, 14 games left to play as of Saturday. How are you feeling about the Bronx Bombers' chances of locking up the division and punching their ticket to the playoffs?
It's like the scene from The Little Giants with the kid trying to catch the ball and the tar's on his hand. That's how I feel the New York Yankees are with the AL East. They want to catch and hold on to that division lead, but they just can't grasp it as a whole. I'm confident going forward if Aaron Judge could catch on fire, right? If Aaron Judge is clicking on what Aaron Judge can do, this offense can't be stopped. We saw what Aaron Judge has been over the past, I think, 18 to 19 games. Ever since that episode of Paw Patrol, that's why I stopped my nephew from watching the show. But ever since he was on Paw Patrol, he hadn't had a home run until last night. But if Aaron Judge could get back on track, get on fire, him and Juan Soto is going to be the main reason if the Yankees either get the AL East or they're in the playoffs with the wild card spot.
How much of it, too, for you? I mean, I think obviously over these last couple of games is going to come down to can they get to Baltimore with a decent lead? If they're 3 games up, if they're 2 games up by the time they get to Baltimore, does that increase the confidence you feel about this team winning the division and getting to the postseason?
Definitely increases the confidence. You're going to want to go into Baltimore with at least a 3-game lead because if worst case scenario you get swept, at least you're tied for the division. You could figure it out the rest of the stretch. But Another thing that I want to say give me confidence is the fact that both the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles are struggling from the same position. It's that bullpen. Just like the Yankees have had a roller coaster with Clay Holmes at the back end of that bullpen, the Baltimore Orioles had the same thing because Craig Kimbrell, Hall of Fame reliever, great career. He is not the same reliever that he once was in years past. So they're trying to figure it out because their closer is on the IL missing the season, right? So the Baltimore Orioles, the same issues the Yankees are dealing with when it comes to the bullpen is the same issues that the Orioles are dealing with as well. So it's going to come down to whose offense is going to show up in that series. Is it the Yankees or is it the Baltimore Orioles?
Going to be interesting to see there, too. You feeling good about the rotation with Cole, the top of it, did have some struggles on Saturday. Cole, who I think is interesting, right, because you didn't know if he was going to be able to even pitch at all this season, right?
Yeah.
And now you've seen him pitch through. Are you confident in where he's at now in leading this team as the ace through this postseason?
I'm confident because we saw when he wasn't pitching, he was still an extension of the coaching staff, right? You saw the leadership role he took, especially when it comes to Luis Hill being that mentor for Luis Hill being such a young pitcher. But with his leadership, with the knowledge that Garrett Cole has, I'm confident. Even if Garrett Cole is at 70%, I trust Garrett Cole over Corbin Burns every day out the week.
No, I hear you. A lot to be confident in with the Yankees. We'll see how they fare down the stretch. Still got some big games left to play. Right now, a little bit of a lead in the American League East. Let's talk some football, Hector, because the Jets and the Giants, they returned to action last week where they actually played real games. And sorry, New York football fans, both teams lost. So let's start with the Giants where, look, I'm going to be honest here. The entire team looked bad. They looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. Daniel Jones, he was outplayed by Sam Darnold. Yes, I said that. He was outplayed by Sam Darnold. The defense, they couldn't get any pressure, Hector. Giants fans, they were big mad. They were booing the players. They were, some people even chanting for Tommy DeVito, and you folks out there doing that, you know that you are doing too much. However, do you think the Giants have it in them, I should say, to bounce back this week against the Commanders? Or do you look at this Giants team and say, they're simply just not that good?
You just got to, if we're going off of what we saw in week 1, then yeah, I'm just looking at this team like this team is just not that good, right? I don't want to just throw all the blame on Daniel Jones like some Giants fans have been. I understand that Daniel Jones, not only is he coming back from an ACL injury, he's dealing with 3 new offensive linemen. He's dealing with a rookie tight end. He's dealing with a rookie wide receiver as well. There's new guys that are on that team that's never been in the Giants locker room. So it's going to take Daniel Jones some time to build some cohesion and to build some chemistry with his new offensive linemen and with the new weapons that he got. And it doesn't make it easier or palatable for Giants fans seeing Saquon Barkley win the Offensive Player of the Week. That doesn't help, especially when our running game was non-existent in Week 1, right? So yes, as a Giant fan, I understand the frustrations. I was at a local bar by my house, shout out to the Triumph Public House. I was there booing as well because I was just frustrated seeing what we're seeing. But when it comes to the defense and when it comes to Dexter Lawrence, I know he had some comments after the game. It doesn't matter what defense you have. You could have the legendary defense from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s. You could have the 2013 Seattle Seahawks and that phenomenal defense. If your quarterback is not giving your defense time to rest, if he's just going out there doing 3 and outs and just putting the ball away and your defense is back on the field after 2 or 3 minutes, they're going to get gassed after the first quarter. And you saw that in Week 1. That Giants defense was gassed. And afterwards, they was able to put the Vikings were able to put a beat down on the New York Giants.
Yeah, they were. You know what also I did not like from this game, and we're seeing pictures of it right now, that's those jerseys.
Oh, I didn't want to say anything.
I'm going to say it. The play on the field was bad. You can't play good if you don't look good. I'm a believer in that, and I feel like those jerseys are terrible.
Yeah.
We don't need to see them anymore.
Yeah, I would just retire those jerseys. Yes. I'm not sure what intern decided to download that jersey scheme from Madden 2025, but I would delete it going forward. Leave those jerseys and retire them.
Leave them in the past. I know it's to honor the 100th anniversary team. I get all that, but come on, you're looking like the Montreal Canadiens with khaki pants on.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. It looked like, honestly, like a 2040 rugby match, like from a futuristic sci-fi movie. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. Hopefully things get better for the Giants. We'll see what they can do this week against the Commanders. Now, the Jets, they got run over by the Niners on Monday Night Football. And they didn't look that great, but you did see some bright spots offensively for them, especially with Aaron Rodgers in his first full game under center in green and white. Gang Green, they visit the Titans this week in Nashville. Do you have any concerns with the Jets, who, let's be real, they've got higher expectations than the Giants, after what you saw from them in Week 1? Any concerns for Gang Green?
I'm going to go back to what Aaron Rodgers said before the game 1. He said if the Jets win, they would be like the Jets are going to the Super Bowl. If the Jets lose, it's the same old Jets, just a different J, right? When you look at the New York Jets from Week 1, their defense, they need to step up, right? Their defense did not look like the defense from last year. That was the one bright spot you could point to without Aaron Rodgers from the team from last year. But this season, Aaron Rodgers, the same issues that Daniel Jones has when it comes to like working and building chemistry with new wide receivers is something that Aaron Rodgers has to do as well, because he missed all of last year, right? So he has to build up that chemistry with Mikey Williams. He has to build up that chemistry with Garrett Wilson as well. But I have more confidence in Aaron Rodgers doing that than I do with Daniel Jones, because Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP candidate when he's healthy. He's won an MVP as well. So if you were to ask me going into Week 2, if I had to put any money on the line when it comes to choosing what team is going to bounce back, it's definitely the New York Jets. I'm more confident in the Jets than I am in the Giants. And it sucks that I have to say that because I'm a Giants fan. I grew up a diehard Giants fan. I grew up with my cousins being Jet fans, so I had to deal with that in the household. So yes, I'm saying that the Jets, I have more confidence in the Jets. Nobody saved the receipt, but it is true.
Oh, people are going to save the receipts. You just called out other people with the receipts. They're going to have the receipts on you for this for sure. Okay, more confidence in the Jets bouncing back in Week 2 than the Giants. We'll see how both teams do. Because I'll tell you what, Hector, if both teams are 0-2, it is not going to be happy times for the football fan around here. You're going to see some New York fans talk about, okay, let's get our focus back to the Mets and Yankees. Rangers training camp is opening up. Knicks training camp opens up in a couple of weeks. People will move on very quickly. Let's just hope it doesn't get to that. We can only hope. All right, Hector. So, as you know, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and I've got a two-part question for you here for our bonus question. As a proud Puerto Rican that I know that you are, what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you? And also, the second part of this question is, when you look at sports journalism, right, sports content creation, which you're a part of as well too, what do you make of the visibility or lack of visibility in your eyes of Hispanic journalists in the space of sports journalism? So, very deep two-part question for you, but since you're being here, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm very intrigued to hear what you have to say.
Well, first and foremost, thank you again for having me on to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month. As a Boricua, as somebody who is Latino, Borican, de la Isla de Borican, it is important to me to highlight the culture, the life that we have, right? Bad Bunny has a saying in one of his songs that everybody wants to be Latino, but they're missing sazon. They're missing that flavor. And that's something that we bring. Latinos, we all come in different shapes, sizes, whether you're Latino, Latinx, however you want to identify. We are all connected and bonded by the culture that we share, right? So being Boricua, I want to be able to uplift the stories of different athletes or different shop owners or small business owners in my community and the communities around, right? Being a part of Latino Sports, I am the social media manager for Latino Sports. I wouldn't be here without the trailblazers that set the path for me. Julio Pavon, who is the founder of Latino Sports as well. Armando Talavaro, who passed away, worked with the New York Yankees for years. Armando is the reason why there's a Spanish announcing when it comes to the Yankee games, right? If it wasn't for Armando, you wouldn't get greats like Ricky Ricardo, who is a phenomenal person in the industry and in media, and who does amazing work when it comes to being the voice of the New York Yankees. So yes, I'm here in 2024 trying to keep that tradition going on and trying to lay the path for everybody else that's coming behind me. But I can't forget those that were in media. And if I didn't mention some people's name, I do apologize. Like I said, Julio Pavon, the founder of Latino Sports. Latino Sports has been around since the 90s. Him and Armando Talavera in 2003, 2004, they put together the Latino Sports Writers and Broadcasting Association. So without both of them, I wouldn't be here representing Latino sports or trying to uplift the culture. And again, thank you to you, Dexter Henry, and the people at SNY for allowing us in Hispanic Heritage Month just to share our stories and the stories of our family and our traditions.
Well, I think it's so important what you said, right? It's extremely important to tell the stories of your culture, of your people, in spaces where sometimes you don't see the representation in the way that you do. You know, I look at the sport of baseball, which we've seen an increase in Hispanic players in the sport. But sometimes what bothers me, even as somebody who is not Hispanic, is you do not see that representation in the people that cover them, in the clubhouses, right? And I think there should be a reflection of representation ratio of the people who cover them looking like the people who are on the field, on the court, whatever it may be. For you, I know somebody now with Latino Sports who is now getting access to the Yankee clubhouse or the Mets clubhouse and being in there. What does it mean to you to be a part of that representation?
It means a lot, right? Like I said, being able to go to Yankee Stadium, right, being there on Tuesday for Hispanic Media Day, that right there was a different world, right? I grew up as a diehard Yankee fan, but and covering the Yankees as a content creator, but to be a part of the media side of things, that right there is a total different view. And to see how strong the Yankees go when it comes to representing and allowing Latino journalists to be in the building. The Yankees and CUNY, they have a scholarship that they now have going forward in honor of Armando Talavera if out of Lehman College. If you're somebody that want to pursue sports journalism, you could get that sponsorship with the New York Yankees, that scholarship with the New York Yankees and Lehman College now. So little stuff like that. I know it's small breadcrumbs for some people, but we got to start somewhere, right? And that right there alone, being with the Yankees and being in the Mets clubhouse and having access to the players. I've interviewed Oswaldo Cabrera so many different times at different autograph signings. He saw me there being a part of the media, and he had to double take. He was like, "Papi, what are you doing over here?" I was like, "I worked out for Latino Sports." So to see a player that I interview get excited to see now I'm a part of media, that right there is the icing on the cake.
And I think that experience right there that you had with Oswaldo Cabrera lets you know that representation matters, right? And it's matters that you're in that clubhouse and that you're there and you're going to continue to do great stuff. So the only thing that we can hope is, at least, my part of it is we have to try to make sure that representation increases, and we have to uplift the voice of the people like Hector, who are doing such a fantastic job covering all sports and being a great representative for our Latino brothers and sisters that are out there. Hector, I appreciate you, man. You do a fantastic job of what you're doing for Latino sports, for Uptown Sports. The brand is strong. The brand is growing. Glad to have you on here. I know I'm going to be talking to you a ton in the next month or so about Yankee baseball and a whole bunch of other things. We'll see how your Yankees do. Hopefully your Giants can be a little bit better, and we'll see how the Knicks do as well.
I have no faith in the Giants, but hopefully the Knicks and the Yankees, I'll come back and talk about the Knicks and Yankees.
Right.
Hopefully the Giants, I can have some happy Sundays and not that much punching of sofa pillows and stuff like that.
Okay, keeping it to the sofa pillows. That's good. As long as you're not, no walls, nothing
No
hard.
walls. The sofa pillows,
Yeah, you keep it like that. Hector, Hope you had a good time on the New York Sports Rapid Rundown.
Thank you.
We got to have you back for sure.
Definitely. I appreciate you and definitely appreciate everybody behind the scenes.
Yes, definitely. That is Hector Beauchamp. Check out his work with Latino Sports. Also, Uptown Sports, check that out for sure. We will be back next week with another edition of the New York Sports Rapid Rundown.